everybody, I'm Brittany Lewis. I'm one of the anchors here with Forbes TV. I am lucky enough to be joined by my Forbes colleague, senior editor Maggie McGrath. Maggie, thanks so much for coming in, and a big congrats to you.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
The Forbes 50 over 50 list just launched for 2025, and you're saying that these women on the list define innovation, drive, and hope. So to start off the conversation, talk to us about the list.
This is our 5th annual list of women over the age of 50 who are creating their greatest professional impact after the age of 50. We first launched this list in partnership with Mika Brzezinski and her Know Your Value initiative in 2021. That year, we immediately went global. We have a global version of the list, and it's a bit of a misnomer. There are actually 200 women on the list across 4 broad categories: impact, investment, innovation, and lifestyle.
And you and I talk about this list when it launches every year. And I think that I know Forbes does a lot of lists, but to me, it's the most inspiring because it shows that, hey, you can have your second act, third act, fourth act, and age is just a number. So talk to us a little bit about the inspiration behind the list.
So I think it all goes back to a conversation between Mika Brzezinski and our Chief Content Officer, Randall Lane. I think Mika felt that she was hitting her 50s and just getting started. She felt like she had, as she always says, a very long runway to create impact. And I think we see that across the entrepreneurs and the CEOs on this list year after year after year. We have folks who only just quit their day jobs to start a business in their late 40s, and at 50 or 55 or 53 or 65, the company that they founded is on the shelves of Walmart or Target or Whole Foods. I'm thinking of Goodles as I'm talking about that, right? So you see, I think, a lot of women who defy societal expectations. There's a stereotype that when you get older, you're done. And a lot of these women are feeling more invigorated. They may have pivoted. They may have taken some time off to raise families. They may have overcome significant personal loss and taken time to recover from that. And then on the other side are building something that brings joy to the world.
I think one of my favorite parts of this list and this story in particular is that you write that these women have heard no, don't, you can't more times than they can count. And yet they're still on this list. They're still persisting. They still pivoted. So what are some of your favorite stories on this list?
It is really hard to narrow down. The team and I were talking about this last night. I mentioned Goodles, right? That is a better-for-you noodle company that has taken off. Jen is the founder of that company and CEO, and they ran out of the microwavable cups. There's a waiting list for that now, which is insane to me. I think about Kim Vaccarella. We have a story on Bog Bag. I don't know if you've been to the beach and seen these totes that look like Crocs. They're really, really popular. The company's on track to do $170 million in revenue this year. And Kim is one of those folks who had been terrified to quit her day job to go all in on her entrepreneurial dream. And here it's a genuine phenomenon. We have Suma Krishnan. Our colleague Amy Feldman wrote a profile going live on July 31st about Suma. Suma also is someone who worked in biotech. She was creating innovations and inventions for other people for most of her career. But then she made a few breakthroughs in gene therapy, and now she has a $4 billion company, give or take, depending on what the market is doing on a day-to-day basis. And so I think what I really appreciate are those stories of folks who were kind of on this path, and then they have an idea, and then suddenly they're the founder CEO of something really making a difference in the world.
And you mentioned at the top of this conversation that the title's almost a misnomer because there's 200 women and they're divided into 4 categories, 50 per category, and they are impact, innovation, investment, and lifestyle. So can you talk to us a little bit about these separate buckets?
I will say that everyone on the list checks multiple buckets, but the way we think about it is this. Innovation are your STEM folks, your scientists, your healthcare CEOs and founders, your astronauts. We do have Suni Williams, who folks may remember got stuck in space for a while. She holds multiple records with NASA for her time in space. She's on this year's list. That's our innovation category. Our lifestyle category looks at art, media, entertainment, retail, design. Basically, think about the people who are shaping culture. On this category, the face this year is Halle Berry. I sat down with her in LA to talk about the menopause company that she is building, and they just launched a telehealth service. It's called Respin, and folks know her from the Oscars. Folks know her from her acting, but she says that being an entrepreneur is her greatest act yet. That's the face of lifestyle. We have our impact category. That's typically our nonprofit, foundation, law, education policy type folks. Maria Shriver is the face of that this year. She founded the women's Alzheimer's movement many years ago because she saw through her dad's journey with Alzheimer's that women were so often left out of the conversation about brain disease, and yet women are diagnosed at higher rates than men. And then finally, we have our investment category. That's what you would think of as your Wall Street, private equity, venture capital type folks, some cryptocurrency in there. Frida Capper-Klein is our face of that this year.
And I want to read a quote that stuck out for me from the piece introducing the list. And while the founders and CEOs on the list might differ in their subject matter expertise, they are united more than ever before in the call to address what Martin Luther King Jr. first called the fierce urgency of now. So this really reads as though you're sounding the alarm here for the time that we're in, and these women are really meeting the moment. So talk to us a little bit about that.
As I was looking at this year's list, I saw folks who have expanded Medicare access or gotten drug prices dropped. I'm thinking of Christina Ritter. I'm thinking of Meals on Wheels CEO Ellie Hollander. We've seen how this relatively bipartisan supported nonprofit, which feeds the elderly in America, has gotten, I would say, a little targeted and hurt by cuts to the federal budget. I highlighted in that announcement piece Karen Clark. She has a disaster modeling company. If you think about the disasters, the natural disasters that we have seen with increasing severity in the United States due to climate change, that is a company that is even more valuable than ever before. Also in that climate change category are people who are important in this moment for that. Ada Monzon, she is the first female meteorologist in Puerto Rico, and she is a lifeline to Puerto Rico's 3 million residents when hurricanes brew in the Caribbean. So as I was looking at these different issues, right, you have nonprofits. We have Alexis McGill Johnson, the head of Planned Parenthood. We have people working in finance. The CEO of TIAA, Tashunda Brown Duquette, she talks so openly about the need to save based on her own father's experience. He didn't contribute to his 401k. He missed out on 3 decades of a company match because there wasn't enough financial education. If you look at wealth inequality in America, if you look at home ownership inequality, we have other folks on the investment list who are actively working to help people buy homes and get more financial security. As I think about everything that we talk about with our guests on the political side for Forbes TV, right? You have income inequality, you have climate change, you have health. These are some crucial issues right now. And if you look at this list, we have women working in all of those buckets. So that's why I say throughout the package that the work of the women on the 50 over 50 touches every corner of America, whether you realize it or not.
And I think when you're looking at Forbes as a brand in general, you just see entrepreneurs of all ages, of all backgrounds. And I think it really embodies this American dream that you can have your dream at any age, whether it be under 30, whether it be over 50. So what do you think that this list particularly is doing to inspire entrepreneurs maybe who are a little younger?
I actually heard from one of my friends who's not an entrepreneur, though I think she could be. And she said, this list every year reminds me to slow the F down, right? Because you can see that some people maybe weren't a CEO at 35. Maybe they weren't even a founder at 35, but they're a founder at 65. And so I think it reminds us all that life and careers have so many chapters, and your book is not over because you haven't reached that CEO chapter or that founder chapter by the age of 40.
And I ask you this every year, but if you could describe this year's list in one word, what would it be? And spoiler alert, last year you did use the word defiant.
I'm glad you remember that. Can I give an explanation? Because I knew you were going to ask this. Mm-hmm. We ask everyone on the list for their advice for their younger selves. And you would not believe the number of people who said, don't have fear, just go for it. And Halle Berry and I talked about how folks told her, don't speak out about menopause. People had told her, don't do Monsters Ball, the film that got her an Oscar. And she said, I'm not afraid. So I was thinking about this, and I think the word that encapsulates everyone is fearless.
Maggie McGrath, I'm excited that the list is out. A big congrats to you. Everyone can find it on Forbes.com as well in the next magazine.